Welcome back everybody, MC here with another video, and today we are going to do the Martian Madness in Terraria. The Martian Madness is spawned when you get scanned by a Martian in the sky, usually at the ends of the world, and you have to let them scan you and get away safely. Don't kill it by accident. We're going to start off with fighting the saucer itself. It's kind of actually towards the end of the run. I will do the basic enemies as well in this video. But we're starting off with the saucer because it's the most interesting part of the madness, and also one of the only things in the Martian Madness that's quite difficult. It's actually one of the more difficult enemies in the entire game too, so we're going to have a little bit of an experiment on what's the best way to kill it. In its first form, it's going to shoot homing rockets at you, and it's going to use a laser, and it's going to do like a Gatling gun effect on you as well. The damage from the first phase isn't too bad, but you have to take out 4 different parts of the saucer in order to turn it into its second form. And its second form is where things start to get a bit more interesting. So in this particular version, I'm trying to rotate around it. So jump over its head and then kind of move over to its left and then come back down again. And with most bosses in Terraria, you can use this tactic to try and kill them. Especially if you use space to your advantage because of the lower gravity. The only problem with this tactic is because you're in the air, you have less control over where you are going. So you can pretty much only move left and right and hope that you land before the enemy kills you, and hopefully you can heal as well. As you can see, I'm dodging a lot of its attacks, but because of how long it takes me to get back down and before I actually hit the platform underneath me, I am pretty much a sitting duck whenever it comes to the attack happening before I land. So it can be quite difficult and quite dangerous to do it like this. But it's definitely the second phase that we're looking out for anyway, because if you have good enough armor and weapons in this phase, you don't really need to worry too much. I'm using the Mega Shark, as you can see, with glorified bullets. So the problem with the second phase is the laser or the beam does the second highest damage in the game, not including the Empress of Light during the daytime, of course. I'm talking about normal attacks, and the damage is only second to the beam that Moon Lord does during the Moon Lord fight. So it goes through blocks, which is kind of a nerf that they did, because it used to not go through blocks, and you used to be able to use blocks to prevent yourself from getting hit from it. So generally what I like to do during Martian Madness is to make sure I have the unicorn mount, and I use the unicorn mount to make sure that I can outrun the saucer. And as long as you constantly outrun the saucer, you can be fine. There are other ways to do this. I can tell you in theory what to do. Hopefully you kind of understand what I'm trying to say here. You can move from, say, left to right along the sky bridge and wait for the saucer to race in front of you. As soon as it races in front of you, it's just about to turn on its beam. Turn around as quickly as possible and start going the opposite direction. Then it'll happen again. The saucer will try and overtake you. As soon as it overtakes you, change direction again, because on the point of it overtaking you, it's literally going to start hitting its beam attack. So as you can see here, we're just taking on the normal enemies now. And this is the old way that we used to take on Martian Madness before they nerfed the, well, strategy, I suppose. You used to create a skybox, and you used to be able to use a yo-yo. And obviously if you upgrade the yo-yo, it's even stronger. I'm actually going to do some of the first phase here from inside the skybox, and unfortunately, because they nerfed it, this takes ages now, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. There was 2 things we used to do. We used to go inside the box, obviously, and use the yo-yo upgraded version. And if you had lots of time and you were just trying to clear out some of the enemies as well, you'd use the Daedalus Stormbow with the holy arrows. It's practically the only time where the Daedalus Stormbow is still usable in Terraria. It just completely falls off after this section. but as you can see, it still does very little damage. So we're going to jump out of this. And one of the main reasons why it was nerfed, as I said, was the beam goes through blocks now, so you can no longer stay safe inside the skybox. So there's absolutely no point in doing the skybox technique anymore. But it was a really fun way to play Terraria. It was a really fun way to fight Martian Madness. There was very little danger of dying, which kind of made it, I wouldn't say boring, but it was more of a farming situation or a farming setup than anything. And farming can be fun, so it wasn't too bad. But when it comes to what we're doing here, we're going to try and do something similar to before. We're going to try and use gravity to our favor. We're going to try and jump over the Martian Madness or over the saucer, and we're using Daedalus Stormbow. Unfortunately, as I said already, Daedalus Stormbow at this point has already started to fall off. The damage reduction that they made to the Daedalus Stormbow stops it from being viable pretty much after this point. So there's only two real ways or reasons you'd use it for this. Number one, crowd control to kill the enemies underneath you if you want to speed the Martian Madness up. And that is actually a very useful way to use this, because Martian Madness takes a long time to clear. And one of the best ways to get the saucers to spawn is to get up into the 60 to 90% complete section, you know? If you do that, you will get saucers a lot more. From 90 to 100%, you pretty much can fight only saucers if you like, because all you have to do is wait for them to spawn, and they'll spawn way more regularly. So if you can use the Daedalus Stormbow to get yourself up to that 90% sweet point, then you'll fight only saucers. And why are you even fighting the saucers in the first place? There's a few items that you can get from the saucers that are very useful. They used to have the UFO mount, the cosmic car key, and it still exists, but it's not as useful as it used to be. The item used to be a lot quicker horizontally, and because of that, you used to be able to take on all of the late game bosses with it, and you had infinite flight. Unfortunately, because they nerfed it, you are pretty much looking at using ground mounts now to take on the later bosses, and they kind of removed infinite flight as being viable late game. Now, infinite flight is great for moving around, and it's great for farming and stuff like that, so you can still use it for those. It's just not as viable for fighting bosses anymore, is what I mean. And as you can see here, we're taking on this laser again. You can actually kind of see what I was talking about, where the UFO tries to overtake you, and then as soon as it overtakes you, change direction. I'm failing a little bit here because I'm trying to get set up so that I can go on the long version, but there we go. We can see here that we're doing the changing direction. When you're on the unicorn mount, you don't need to do this. Honestly, you might as well just run in one direction and you'll outrun the UFO. If you do that, just hold down the run key and you'll outrun it, no problem. The unicorn is just fast enough to outrun this thing. So I'm going to let you guys see the end of this footage and the end of me fighting the saucer. We are going to be fighting the pillars next. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.